is Nina Perez, and this is Straight Talk, no sugar added. Thank you so much for being here. This show, as you know, is created to discuss life topics to grow, challenge, and transform your thinking. I go around the world trying to find the best people that'll come on here and give you tips and tools and just their inspirational stories of how they've overcome so that you don't get stuck. And so today I have Grace Chang here, and she creates impact through through wealth and health education to empower the middle class by showing them how to leverage potent tools validated by research. I don't know why my brain just went beep 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 beep. I love that though, because you're hitting a big target there. Middle
Mhm.
class
Yeah.
is like the biggest target, right? So before we get into that, let's know a little bit more about you, Grace. Can you tell us a little bit more about you?
Yeah, so Nina, as you know, I come from a nursing background way back in the 80s, and then couldn't really align with conventional medical, so hopped out of that box and have been playing in alternative medicine for over 2 decades. And that work really has been about validating the efficacies of modalities because my heart really cares about stuff that work that don't cause side effects for folks.
Mm-hmm.
And with COVID, I needed a pivot, and so it's transitioning onto a virtual platform, and then also needing a replacement of income, hopping onto a wealth platform where I have just completely transformed my financial trajectory along with that of my family. So, was COVID hard? Yes. And was COVID wonderful at the same time? Yes, because it was transformative for me. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. And so so conventional medicine was something I guess you got into probably for the same reasons to help others. Is
Mhm.
that what that was about? Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
that was my happy button, right? My happy button was making a difference in people's lives. And
Hmm.
I just noticed that I couldn't really do it in conventional medical because it's so regulated.
Right.
And,
Right.
lots of the stuff that I was doing as a nurse was causing side effects for folks. So, yeah, causing harm. That was what I was seeing.
Wow. That's very deep too, because it is your
Mhm,
profession, right? And so to
mhm,
come face to face with that is a difficult thing because you have to go, whoa, wait a
mhm,
second, what am I doing here? Is this the right thing? Especially since that was, like you said, your happy button, right? Your
mhm,
happy
mhm,
place. And
mhm.
so you got into natural medicine, and did that work out for you? Did you enjoy that
Yeah.
better?
Alternative medicine, I enjoyed it for what is it? Better part of over 20 years now and
Mm,
looking at all kinds of modalities. I'm talking from physical to non-physical modalities. And it's because there's so many things that work, but what I love most are things that create permanent results that people get to keep and eventually, not have to need me. So that's really the point of that piece. And in the last 4 years, have really been delving into more ancient practices, specifically Nam Yoga, NAAM, stands for Neuroactivating Advanced Meditations, and it's creating permanent healing results that people get to uh, do through simple things like breath work,
mm, mm.
and vocalizations of sounds in different parts of the body, and then also energy medicine as well. And so that was fascinating because the other piece of it was the validation with the data piece that I shared with you. Mhm.
Right. Do you find it Did you find it more fulfilling? Did you find it more fulfilling to go into alternative medicine? Was that something that, like, after you're starting to learn alternative medicine, because it is different, alternative medicine is
Yeah.
different. Was
Mhm.
that something that you felt challenged with, or was it a more natural fit for you?
At first it was kind of like this fascination because it's like, wow, how come nobody ever told me about chiropractic care or,
Right.
supplementation or nutritional IVs or even things like ozone. And so it's studying all those modalities and then eventually understanding that, wow, anything that's applied externally, eventually when you take that away from the client, there's this rubber banding effect, and what I was after wasn't that, you know
Mm,
and even in alternative medicine, as long as it's a physical modality, you're still going to have to deal with side effects. For example,
mhm,
you can get overdose, with supplementations of different kinds, whether it be oral or whether it be intravenous. So in order for us to have permanent results that basically have no side effects, I literally needed to go to the mental divine plane. When I talk about that, it's really the three planes of existence: the physical plane, where it's physical modalities, right, and it's applied externally, and then the astral plane, where emotions live. That's
Mhm.
the bridge to your mental divine plane, where thoughts live, and ultimately, it is changing these patterns.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
why is that important? Because we really can't be free souls or live freely as long as we're controlled by patterns. And we get
Right.
conditioned, whether from family, from society, from culture, from lineage. I'm talking even past life
Mhm.
programming.
Mhm.
So to live as a free soul, how do you take a big fat eraser to get rid of all that, right? And to create some space so that you can breathe as a free soul and to emanate as a free soul in terms of your soul purpose. Why is Nina here? Why is Gracie here? Why is anyone here in this life?
Right.
Yeah.
Do you find it difficult to not fall back into some of those patterns? Because I'm learning a lot about this now too, the astral plane and all of that.
Yeah.
I'm reading a
Mhm,
lot and
mhm.
learning a lot. And I'm just like, it's kind of like mind melting a little bit because you're like, okay, too much coming out of my left ear right
Yeah.
now. I gotta slow
Yeah. Yeah.
down. So because we're all I mean, maybe this is just a saying, but we're creatures of habit, right?
Yep.
So, and from what my understanding is this is trying to create like different and new patterns in your life for you to expand the way you think and feel. So do you feel like it's difficult to get out of that pattern or to actually develop new ways of being? And when you do you get stuck in that pattern? Can that be possible? Can that happen?
My journey with Nam has been really interesting, right? I've tried so many modalities for over 2 decades. I'm talking all different kinds of yogas, all different kinds of, different kinds of therapies or whatnot. And ultimately, freedom is what matters to my soul. And so
Mm,
with the Nam yoga, uh, when you can ultimately get to the source or the cause and work in the causal plane, and be able to neutralize these thought patterns so that you can actually have space to create new ones. So ultimately, we are meant to be creators in this life. And to do
mhm.
that, we need space. Otherwise, you're just like, a robot, basically functioning from all these patterns. And we see so many of these people, my family, right, coming from traditional Chinese heritage or whatnot, looking at my dad's life or whatnot, it's like, wow, we can all be so conditioned to just live from that. And some of us choose to be that way. And
Mhm.
we can be very happy in that. But for souls like myself who need a lot of space when it comes to breathing room to really be creating from a clean slate, we need something
Mm,
different. Yeah. So then it's really then, like I said, taking that tool to be able to neutralize that space and then be able to rewire, so to speak, right?
right,
Yeah.
right.
So that's the physiological aspect of it. But ultimately, it's to have that space and breathing room so that you can co create with the universe. Yeah.
Co-create, that's good.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
good. Do you find it like it's just something I was talking to another person earlier today, and we were talking about how in our 20s we knew everything, and
Mhm.
then in our 30s we realized
Mhm.
maybe not so much, and in our 40s and 50s it's like, yeah, I don't know nothing.
I don't
Right?
know anything, right?
I had to
Yeah.
realize I don't know anything. And
Mhm.
now that I'm learning about what you're speaking about, because I'm just learning and getting into that,
Mhm.
is I realize how much I still have to learn and how much
Right.
untapped potential
Yep.
that you have.
Mhm.
So how do you was there something in your life that just shifted you that way? Like was there a something pivotal in your life that kind of just shifted like the way you started to think and saying, there has to be more than this.
Yeah, ultimately, it's someone opening the door for you, right?
Mm,
For me, it's Dr. Joseph Michael Levry, who's the founder of Nam Yoga. And, as I'm attending his lectures and listening to what he says, it's like the heart just began to open.
mm, I see.
Yeah. And then
Mhm.
to get glimpses of some light. It's like, wow, okay, this is a possibility. And I remember the first master class that I sat in with him and he was talking about the divine mind, at that point, that was 4 years ago. I had no clue what the divine mind was about, but my
Right.
soul was just attracted to that concept. It's like, wow, I would love to be a part of that divine mind, because to be unidentified from Gracie in terms of that limitation, and to be merged with that divine mind, which is the great all of everything,
Mhm. Mhm.
that was just something that I resonated with. And so I remember with my first consultation with him, that's what I told him. I said, Dr. Levry, that's what I would like. I would like to be a part of this divine mind thing.
Right. No
Yeah.
problem. 2
Mhm.
easy steps.
So
Yeah.
that was the pivot. That was the pivot, and he's been a
Mm.
major mentor in terms of for health and spiritual things for me. That's been the most transformative in the last 4 years of my life.
Wow. And so are you
Mhm.
using that now to help others? Like I know that
Yeah.
in your short bio I gave, it's not just health either, it's wealth as well.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
just sticking to the health piece for a second, is that something that you're now sharing your knowledge with others in that area?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been the most potent of all the modalities that I've looked at in the last 20 years,
Mm.
using the lifestyle studies. And it's kind of cool to have data to inform, because it's like, wow, you can then make comparisons, right? And it informs you on the back end of how efficacious something is. And that's really been the vein of my interest for the last 16 years.
Oh, that's
Mhm.
great. And
Yeah.
so now you added that other component there, right? Because I was
Mhm.
when, the wealth part. So I'm starting to realize, even in my own personal self-development journey, how when you start to really get into personal development,
Mhm.
you do open up doors for the energy of money to come your way,
Yes.
right? So this
Yes.
this wealth aspect. But so how did you add that into your modalities, and how are you teaching
Mhm.
all of that?
Mhm. I think it was from a place of need, Nina, first of all, last because of the pivot that I needed to make to replace income. Yeah,
Mhm.
and then just realizing, we all know, some of us know the Maslow hierarchy of needs, and because money literally is the currency for our physical world, where all of our basic needs are tied to it until our basic needs are met. I'm talking food, shelter, transportation, energy, clothing, and all those things. And if those needs are not met, we cannot reach the higher levels of self actualization within the hierarchy of needs. And so for me as a soul, where my hot button is about holding space for other souls to fully flower, for me to see a soul to fully flower, that basic need has to be met. And the
Mhm.
foundation of
Mhm.
that is money. So having the mastery of resource to be able to set the foundation so that you can then actualize as a soul is huge.
Right. So, how do you get that person to that point, right? So, because not everybody, like you've been doing this 20 years, so there's a difference between what you've been doing and somebody like me who's coming right in,
Mhm.
right? So, how do you get them to that place of meeting that need first, the basic needs, so that they understand, right, that there is something beyond the basic need? Because most of the people I speak to, and I speak to a lot of
Mm.
people,
Yeah.
um, are really kind of just working for that basic
Mhm.
need.
Yeah.
And it's a little hard sometimes to expand their wealth mindset, so that they understand that it's not just about making sure you get the next paycheck.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
what's the first step, if you have one that you do to kind of break through all of that mindset?
The first step is always just establishing that foundation of creating, first of all, stability. Yeah.
Mm,
And what I've found in this last year, well, year and a half now with COVID, is that that becomes the first conversation because of all the disruption that has occurred financially in the
mhm,
world. We talk
mhm,
about me losing my private practice because of COVID, because of all these lockdowns. And I'm talking tens of millions of people who basically were out of work, and now
yeah,
nothing's the same. Yeah,
right,
nothing's the same. And so, how do you navigate this change? It's
right,
a tremendous change, and so it takes conversation, um, to first of all open the doors to solutions that make sense for Middle America, where
right,
they can have the safety nets first of all, to not only create wealth but then down the road to preserve that for
mhm,
generations to come and change that whole financial trajectory. And then from there, then it invites other conversations. For example, it opens up space for health conversations, right? Because in
Mhm.
order
Mhm.
for us to enjoy those resources in this life and to see the enjoyment for generations to come, you need health as a foundation to do that. So how do
Yeah.
you get from wherever your health is today to optimize that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that
Yeah.
becomes a second conversation. And then perhaps further down the road, you'll have spiritual conversations because
Mhm.
that's what the soul is about. It's thirsting for these deeper conversations when there's room.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right. I get that. And when you are really bombarded with all of this needing to meet that basic need, you
Mhm.
don't have room. You just don't have
Yeah.
room,
You don't.
right?
Mhm.
Because you're so concerned about living, just living. And you're
Yeah.
right, COVID did do that, right? It brought that to the front of everyone's eyes really. And so but some people are struggling though.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are struggling with meeting that need and or even being satisfied
Mhm.
while meeting need. I think that's where the struggle is, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I love that you do that and connect it to the health piece because it is connected. I don't think there's
It
a way
is.
to really
Yeah.
not connect them, you
Mhm.
know? So do you have like a program that you send them through or that you put them through to help them, navigate all of this?
Yeah, so it's empowerment through education. First of all,
Mm,
middle America needs to understand there are some very potent tools that they can have access to get set up so that not only, today we're concerned about, first of all, retirement, right? Most people,
yeah.
80% of us out there don't even have it. But even before that conversation begins, if GoFundMe is the biggest funder of middle class medical
Mm,
expenses, something's wrong.
right.
Something's wrong. And so our crusade and mission is really to eliminate that by laying down safety nets with solutions that really can mitigate that so that when people get sick, they can tap into replacement income that can come into play for them so that they don't end up losing homes, wiping out entire life savings to go through all those challenges. Um, as a family, and then just being smarter in terms of
Mhm.
cash flow,
Mhm.
and getting educated on tools that the wealthy use that we can use to create the third bucket to get ahead. And when I talk about the third bucket, it's really that non-taxable bucket that middle America is never educated on, right? We
Right.
understand taxable bucket, we understand non, the tax deferred bucket with the 401k and IRAs and stuff like that. I mean, I had a little bit of understanding prior to getting on their wealth platform last year.
Right.
And then, boy, did I get educated on the third bucket this last year,
Mm,
being on the wealth
good.
platform and now being able to transform my own life and now being able to become a leverage for others to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So, my passion is really about transferring that knowledge so that others can do the same thing and utilizing the same potent tools to set themselves up differently. Yeah.
That's so great. That's
Mhm.
so great. It's great that you went down that road of trying to figure this out,
Mhm.
but also the fact that you're using that now to help somebody else come up as well, because it is true. We're not educated in that. Not at all. Not at all. I mean, you're
Mhm.
barely educated on any kind of
Right.
a wealth standpoint at all when it comes to schooling, right? You kind of
Yeah.
have to learn that on your own. Do you feel like when you are getting your client, do you feel like you have to attack the mindset piece first to even get them to understand, or do you get practical first? Like, this is what you
Practical
practically have to
first.
do.
Yeah,
Mhm,
practical
mhm.
first because,
Yeah,
it's meeting what they need and bringing solutions to that,
yeah.
right? Yesterday was really, with building a nationwide agency with some of my agents across the nation. She brought in some friends and she's a lawyer herself, right? Wanting to do the same thing because to have a way to create passive and residual income is powerful. I never had that
Mhm,
as a solopreneur. So I don't take any credit of this. It's really a system of duplication that I get to tap into that's turnkey that allows someone like me within a year to be able to build the kind of business that I've been able to build.
right.
And so it's really just opening doors to other people to do the same thing. And then in a world of upgrades, when you have the Uber product in the industry where you have Blue Ocean to teach other people to do the same thing, it's kind of a no-brainer. People see
Mhm.
apples to apples. It's like, wow, this horse is running 3 to 5 times faster. Of course, I'm going to pick this horse.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a
Right.
no-brainer. Mhm,
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, and the fact that it's also a no-brainer for someone who is not there yet to work with you,
mhm.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're doing the work. You're doing the work and then you're sharing what you're learning.
Mhm.
And that's super important. And that's why I wanted you on here, right? Because last time we had a conversation, we really went deep into, you know, things that happen in our families and the way you struggle
Yeah.
when maybe there's a split in the family or a
Mhm,
loss
mhm.
of a relative or something like that. And lots of time people just get stuck in that place,
Yep.
and then it's very hard for them to realize that there is another solution.
Yes.
And that a lot has to do with mindset. But I love that you said, no, I start with practical first. You
Yeah,
have to, because
you
people are
have to.
not looking
Mhm.
at you. Yeah. They're not looking at you saying, oh, what's my mindset? They look at you like, can I get the F out of this problem that I'm
Exactly.
in? Right. I mean, that's how people feel. It's in that
Mhm.
freedom, though. And that's what I love when you said, let's meet our needs first, because it's in that your freedom comes,
Yes.
right? When you're not
Mhm.
worried about the freaking debt,
Yep.
you know, that's when your freedom starts. That's when you start to unlock the keys of your mind and start going, wait, there's so much more I don't understand, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's absolutely true because otherwise, like you said earlier, there is no space to even think about those things because we're in
Mm,
survival mode, right? And the key is really to get people out from that survival mode to now a thriving mode. And
mhm.
in order to grow, there needs to be space.
Are you finding that you're getting movement? Are you finding movement in your business and what you're doing to help middle America?
Well, with all the needs out there, Nina, today, and with COVID so in our face, it really just highlighted the things that really matter, right? What
Mm,
matters in face of COVID? Well, your life matters, your
mhm,
health matters, your
mhm.
family matters, connections matter, because all those things can so easily be taken away.
Not
And so
true.
to have some security and safety around those things is huge, and people are looking for solutions that really matter.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I wish we would get past a lot of the division
Yeah.
that's happening with people,
Mhm.
you know, because I know that we can be better together, you
Sure.
know, and reaching people. It's just that's why I wanted you on the platform, because I do have a lot of downloads and people do listen. I get a
Mhm.
lot of DMs. People thank me a lot for the conversations that happen on this platform. It's my way of giving back as well, you know, because I came from an impoverished past. I
Sure.
know what it is to struggle. I was
Yeah.
divorced before. It's
Mhm.
just not, you know, and it's not something like anybody sat down and said, hey, Nina, I'm going to talk to you about finances or your
Mhm.
mindset. I had to go and seek this out for myself, and I'm
Mhm.
still learning. Right. And so when I do this platform and I have people like you, Grace, I realize how much more we can grow, how much more there's out there, how much more info, you know, is
Mhm.
out there for us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in fact, I don't know that we can do this separate
Right.
because we're meant to navigate this together, right? Until
I
we
believe that.
we get
Mhm.
it that we have to do this together and we are stronger together because like Dr. Levry says he loves to say this, like we are as strong as our weakest link. Now that says a lot.
Mhm, mhm,
Yeah.
mhm,
So
mhm.
to uplift and strengthen that weakest link, then strengthens that entire chain of light or chain of
Yeah,
life, if you want to call it that.
yeah,
So that's really ultimately the collective mission, isn't it? So when we're open to that and your heart is open to that kind of a collective endeavor, ultimately for me on this platform of wealth and health is really about elevating the collective. Why? Because
right.
then uh, that's where it needs to go, is that we need to do this together.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, you even said it in the beginning, right? That, GoFundMe is one of the
Mhm.
biggest platforms for covering medical
Yeah.
expenses, and GoFundMe is just community. It's just community getting together to do that. You didn't say the government paid for it. You said the community. You said GoFundMe is one of the biggest, right?
That's where
So I
people are having to go, and Nina,
yeah, and I mean, and that's the thing,
yeah,
right?
government is not the answer.
Right,
Social Security, who knows? By the time our
right.
kids
Who
retire,
knows?
who knows that it can even continue to sustain and at the rate that it is, right? So,
Yeah.
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 Mhm,
And I refuse to divide. I refuse.
mhm,
Like, you know, even with all this division in this last like 2 years in the US, maybe all over the world, but most I live here, so I've seen it here. I
Mhm.
just refuse. I mean, for me,
Yeah.
it's like like I said to all of my friends, and I said, all I want to know is if I'm not well or if something's wrong with me, can I count on you? Will you be my neighbor?
Mhm.
Like I don't think any of the presidents or governors are going to come to my house to check on me, you
Yeah.
know, but I think you will if you're my
Mhm.
friend. And
Mhm.
I think you're
Mhm.
right. I mean, we can do this a lot better together. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you came on and I'm glad you're sharing this. And so I don't want to let you go though without you telling us how we connect with you more. Like, how does the listener right now saying, wow, I really relate to what Grace is saying, how do they find you, connect with you, get on your, on your plan, your
Mhm.
platform, and
Mhm.
so on?
Mhm.
Share all that with us.
Yeah, so you can find me on Linktree. So it's Linktree, and it's Grace Mayen Fu, GraceMeiyen. That's my maiden name.
Okay.
I'm also on LinkedIn as Grace Chang Living Life Solutions.
I
So
love
those are
that.
the two places you can find me.
Okay.
Hmm.
Great. And
Yeah.
I'll make sure to link that. So make sure you send me all of that info because I'm
Mhm.
going to link that below this video.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for spending this time with me. Really, I love these kind of conversations where we can like tap into what's happening and how we can move forward. Like that is so powerful because people
Absolutely.
don't need to be stuck. And I know that COVID did that for a lot of people. I feel
Hmm.
very sad in my heart when I speak to people who are literally just stuck, and I'm like, You don't have to be
You
there.
don't
Let's
have
do
to. Yeah.
something. You don't
Hmm.
have to be there."
Hmm.
And there's always Grace, and you probably have noticed this because you called the what was his name, the one who's mentoring you.
Oh, Joseph Michael Levry, Dr. Joseph Michael Levry, Levry.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and you said, my mentor and somebody I speak to, like, that's what I mean, though. There's always somebody there to hold your hand and help you
Mhm.
if you really want to do the work, right? So thank
Agreed.
you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank
Grace.
you, Nina.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And guys, thank you so much for spending this time with us. This conversation was really deep and there was a lot of info here, but make sure that you follow Grace. I'll make sure to link all of her information below so that you can get connected with her and support what she's doing, but also support yourself. This is something that you have to challenge yourself with, growing, challenging yourself, moving forward so that you don't have to get stuck, so that you can move forward. So, guys, thank you so much for being here. Make sure that you subscribe, like, share the video so that we can reach more in our community. This is Nina Perez. This is Straight Talk, no sugar added. Until next
This
time.
broadcast is brought to you by Wincheck Studios. We are an all-in-one educational platform for podcasters that revolutionizes how hosts leverage content to increase engagement with listeners, downloads, and income. We come together to focus on community, collaboration, and collective impact. For more information on how you can interact directly with our hosts, access exclusive live content with offers you can't get anywhere else from our official partners, join our purpose-driven community by visiting www.winject.com. If you're ready to build a career doing what you love, then we're ready to see you there.